Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with Cindy Stevick. I would also like to introduce Betsy Salois. Betsy is a volunteer for caregiver support groups. I hope I got your last name right, Betsy.
You did.
Okay, great.
Sounds great.
I'm going to start with you for this segment. And I understand that your husband passed away from dementia.
Yes.
And you were his caregiver.
Yes.
So what would you tell other caregivers in regard to taking care of themselves?
Well, the first thing that I think caregivers need to do is get organized, find a plan, take care of your loved one first.
Okay.
Get a team of doctors, make sure the diagnosis is correct,
Okay.
because often it's not. Once you get that, that relieves the stress of what you have to do for your loved one initially. And then you go on and you start studying the disease, whatever type of dementia it is. And once the disease is, you get that down, then you bring your family and your friends in, and don't be ashamed of the disease. Don't be ashamed of your loved one. They so much, they need you, and initially they know something's wrong too. So then you need to go ahead and inform your friends, tell your neighbors. Don't try to hide them, you know, because their behaviors are going to be inappropriate times. Eventually it's going to get there. So if you have a neighbor, and in my situation, we made up little cards and give to all of our neighbors.
Oh, great idea.
And this is something you could talk about if they come to your house unexpectedly.
Okay.
So all of that will help relieve your stress.
Oh, that's a great idea. Looking back on your situation, would you have done anything differently?
You know, I talked to my son at length about it, this question also, and you know, I wouldn't,
Okay.
because it's you learn as you go,
Okay.
and you deal with things differently. You know, every day is a new challenge. Now, my son did say, "Mom, we should have stopped Dad driving first before, because he was, usually takes an accident just about to happen before you pull that." And it's not just for their safety, it's for more for the other people's safety that are driving. He also said we should have placed him in a care facility sooner.
Oh.
And sometimes you want to keep them home so much that you forget not about yourself, but can you really keep your loved one safe? With me, I'll just make this really short, but one day he was outside, it was summertime, and I thought, I wonder what he's doing, I better go check. He'd gotten in a hot car.
Oh.
It's like putting a child in a hot car. He was sweating, he was sick, and he didn't know enough to get out. So it's not just about yourself. You have to realize, can I keep them safe?
Okay. And that kind of triggered me to thinking, if a caregiver needs help, whether it's emotional help or assistance, taking care of someone, what recommendations would you give to them for how they would go about getting that kind of help?
Well, I think you need to go to a support group.
Okay.
That turned out to be the best thing I ever did. My best days were after I'd been to the support group and asked questions, had other people say, you know, you're not in this alone, they're not doing anything different. But one thing it did for me was because I would go to the support group and listen to these caregivers about these behaviors their loved ones were doing, and I thought, you know, that doesn't sound like behaviors I'm dealing with. And so I started researching, and I spent hours and hours on the computer, and then I thought, you know, I don't know what he has, but he does not have Alzheimer's. It's another form of dementia, so I found a new doctor, and but it was a result of the support group.
So they were the ones that actually helped you identify what his condition was.
Well, I probably identified it myself, but they helped me identify that it was not early onset Alzheimer's.
Okay.
It was a rare form of dementia that comes on people usually in their mid-50s.
Great.
So
Bottom line, a support group is a great thing for a caregiver to get involved in.
it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
And it's not a one-time shot,
Okay.
because when you first start going, you think, oh, I've got all of these problems. So you just spill yourself. You talk and talk, and they sit there and listen. And then you go another time, and okay, you're hearing somebody else's story. And then someone can give you advice. And it can be anything from getting financial advice, not telling you what to do, but tend to that, get your house in order.
Okay, I have one last question that I'd like to ask both of you. I know that once a person passes away, it can be difficult to move on, and we've talked about that a little bit. Would each of you tell me just very quickly what you think what would be helpful for a person who's going through this, how they would adjust to the new norm of their life? Just maybe one quick tip from both of you.
I guess I would say if you had a dream your whole life, but because of family and children, you never fulfilled it. Okay, now you're alone, you're not, you don't fit the same people you fit with before. Go after that dream, and your best friends are usually now from the support group, so.
Okay, great. And I'm assuming, Cindy, you would agree with that, and I'm sorry we ran out of time, so I don't get to ask you that question. But I'd like to thank both of you for being with us, and I'd just like to thank you at home for this segment. And up next, we'll learn more about a program that helps caregivers get a much-needed break from caregiving duties. Stay tuned.